Welcome to HiveMind. As the world is in a state of madness at this point in time because of the current coronavirus epidemic, countries are closing their borders, people are buying shops out of hand sanitizers and toilet paper, with them only now just realizing that in case of an emergency, maybe food might be a little bit more important. Sports events, film, TV shows cancelled, schools and some businesses are all closing down to ride out this virus. And with China just recently trying to change the narrative by saying the outbreak was the fault of the US government, who didn't see that coming, let's be honest. And with all the mainstream media printing the story, no doubt shilling for China to try and make the current US government look bad, I think it's important to recognize and talk about some heroes that have emerged from the outbreak. Ones who dared to speak out against the tyrannical Communist Party of China that has its ideologies based on Marxism, Leninism, and socialism, just with Chinese characteristics. At least 5 people in China have disappeared, gotten arrested, or have been silenced after speaking out about coronavirus, with the man I'm going to talk about today giving his life for it. Dr. Wenliang, or more commonly known as the Wuhan Whistleblower, was born on the 12th of October 1986 and died on 7th of February 2020 from COVID-19 coronavirus, or the Wuhan virus. He was an ophthalmologist at the Wuhan Central Hospital who, on the 30th of December 2019, warned fellow colleagues about a possible outbreak of an illness that resembled severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS, later acknowledged as COVID-19 on WeChat, which is their equivalent to our Facebook. He became a whistleblower when his warnings were later shared publicly on the 3rd of January 2020. Wuhan police summoned and admonished him for making false comments on the internet. But as we can see now, there was nothing false about these statements. Upon his death, the Chinese people rallied and asked for something we could never imagine. Without fear of their government, they called for freedom of speech. On the 30th of December 2019, Li saw a patient's report which showed a positive result with high confidence level of SARS corona test. He wrote in a private WeChat group of his medical school classmates, 7 confirmed cases of SARS were reported from the Wuhan seafood market. He also posted the patient's examination report and CT scan images. An hour later, the latest news is it has been confirmed that there are coronavirus infections, but the exact virus strain is not known and is being subtyped. Li asked the WeChat group members to inform their families and friends to take protective measures. After the screenshot of his WeChat messages was shared on Chinese forums and gained a massive amount of attention, his manager talked to him, blaming him for leaking the information. On the 3rd of January 2020, police from the Wuhan Public Security Bureau investigated the case and interrogated Li, giving him a warning notice and censuring him for making false comments on the internet. He was made to sign a letter of admonition promising not to do it again. The police warned him that if he failed to abide by this and continued to violate the law, he would be prosecuted. After that, Lee returned to work in the hospital and contracted the virus on the 8th of January. On the 31st of January, he published his experience in the police station with a letter of admonition on social media. This post went viral, and users questioned why the doctors who gave early warning signs were silenced by the authorities. During this time, Lee was in the spotlight in the Chinese media because he was thought to be one of 8 rumor mongers warned by the Wuhan police. Lee later responded that he did not know whether he was one of the rumor mongers, but that he had been admonished for telling the truth. The police punishment for Lee for rumor mongering was aired on CCTV, or the Chinese Central News Network, signaling central government endorsement for the reprimand. On February 4th, the Chinese Supreme Court, in a surprise move, said that 8 Wuhan citizens that had been punished should not have been done so because what they said was not entirely false, it wrote on social media. It might have been a fortunate thing if the public had believed the rumors then and started to wear masks and carry out sanitation measures and avoided the wild animal market. However, the Chinese government has not published an official apology, and I don't think they will ever do so. How many lives could have been saved? How much of this virus could have been stopped if these people were just listened to? On the 7th of January, Lee contracted the coronavirus when he saw an infected patient at his hospital. The patient suffered from acute ankle closure glaucoma and developed a fever the next day. Lee then began to suspect that the patient might have coronavirus. Lee developed a fever and a cough on the 10th of January, which soon became severe. Dr. Yu, a medical expert said to Wuhan, told the media that although most young patients don't tend to develop severe conditions, the glaucoma patient whom Lee saw on the 8th of January was a storekeeper at the Huanan seafood market with a high viral load, which could have exacerbated Lee's infection. On the 12th of January, Lee was admitted to intensive care at Wuhan Central Hospital, where he was quarantined, treated, and tested for the virus several times until he tested positive for the infection on the 30th of January. He was diagnosed with the virus infection on the 1st of February. While hospitalized, Lee posted a message online vowing to return to the front lines after his recovery. Sadly, this would never happen. According to a colleague, Lee's condition became critical on the 5th of February. On the 6th of February, while Lee was on the phone with a friend, he told the friend that he was having trouble breathing. In a social media post, the Chinese state media reported that Lee had died, but the post was soon deleted. Later, Wuhan Central Hospital released a statement contradicting the reports of his death. In the process of fighting coronavirus, the eye doctor from our hospital, Wenliang, was unfortunately infected. He is now in critical condition, and we are doing our best to rescue him. The hospital announced that Lee had died at 2:58 a.m. on the 7th of February 2020. During the confusion, more than 17 million people were watching the live stream for his status updates. The death of Lee provoked considerable grief and anger on social media, which became extended to a demand for freedom of speech. The hashtag We Want Freedom of Speech gained over 2 million views and over 5,500 posts within 5 hours. It was removed by the censors, as were all related hashtags and posts. Wuhan citizens placed flowers and blew whistles at Wuhan Central Hospital, where Lee worked and died, as a tribute to him. On the internet, people spontaneously launched an activity themed I Blew a Whistle for Wuhan Tonight, where everyone kept all the lights off in their homes for 5 minutes and later blew whistles and waved glitter outside of their windows for 5 minutes to mourn Lee.
报告，看下不好。
Many people left messages in response to Lee's last post on social media, some lamenting his death and expressing anger at the authorities. He was also proclaimed an ordinary hero by the Chinese people. A group of Chinese academics, led by Tang Yim-ing, head of the School of Chinese Classics at the Central China Normal University in Wuhan, published an open letter urging the government to both protect free speech and apologize for Lee's death. The letter emphasized the right to free speech, ostensibly guaranteed by the Chinese Constitution. Tang said the viral outbreak was a man-made disaster and that China ought to learn from Wenliang. Tang also wrote he felt that senior intellectuals and academics must speak up for the Chinese people and for their own conscience. We all should reflect on ourselves, he wrote, and the officials should row their mistakes even more. The letter alleges that Wenliang is also a victim of speech suppression. Lee is survived by his wife and child, and Lee's wife was also pregnant at the time of his death.
I think the majority of the people think he's the hero of China. So even me. So I'm so proud of him. He told people the truth at the end of December. And and then he passed away. I think in the second day, and in Wuhan and some other cities, and they held a short morning memory and just raise the mobile phone, turn on the light, and show this for a couple minutes, and then go back to work. They're not thinking about the death, and they admire him, and they suppose Dr. Lee is a hero, including me. This is Chinese doctor. I suppose majority of Chinese doctor actually like him.